All right, let's talk about one of the weirdest, most persistent mysteries out there. For decades now, a small number of people all over the world have been hearing a sound that for the rest of us simply doesn't exist. It's a phenomenon known as the hum. Seriously, think about that for a second. You know that weird noise in a quiet room, a faint ringing. But now, imagine that sound just never, ever stops. For some people, that's not just a thought experiment. It's their life. And what's so wild is how rare this is. All the studies point to the same thing. Only about 2 to 4% of the population seems to be able to hear this strange, low-frequency noise. It's like being tuned into a radio station that almost nobody else can get.
So just to be super clear about what we're dealing with, the hum isn't just some random noise. It's a very specific thing. It's persistent, meaning it's almost always there. It's low frequency, and, maybe most importantly, its origin is still one of science's most baffling unsolved cases.
So you're probably wondering, what does it actually sound like? Well, here's the thing. We can't just play a recording of it, because it's notoriously hard to capture. So instead, we have to rely on what the witnesses, the hearers, tell us.
And their descriptions are incredibly consistent. A lot of people say it sounds just like a distant engine, a low, constant thrumming that's right on the very edge of your hearing.
Another really common comparison is a truck idling somewhere far off in the distance. You know, that deep, vibrating rumble from a big vehicle? It's like that, but you can never actually find the truck.
The key thing here is how mechanical the sound is. People don't say it sounds like wind or the ocean. It's almost always compared to technology, like some machine has been left on somewhere and it just never turns off.
Now look, if this was all happening in one little town somewhere, you might just write it off as something local. But here's the kicker. It's not. This is a truly global phenomenon. Reports are coming in from all over the planet.
I mean, just look at this list. We're talking about places like the desert of New Mexico, big cities in England and Canada, all the way down to New Zealand, Australia, even Japan. These are major documented hotspots where groups of people are all reporting the exact same thing.
And this is what makes the whole thing so bizarre. How can somebody in Bristol, England, and another person in Taos, New Mexico, people who will never meet, describe the same weird sound with such incredible consistency? It's that detail right there that turns this from a local quirk into a genuine global puzzle.
But you have to remember, for the people who actually hear it, this isn't some fun mystery. It's a daily battle that can have really serious effects on their health, their sanity, you name it.
The impact is just brutal. I mean, can you imagine trying to sleep with what sounds like a diesel engine running outside your window every single night? It leads to things like chronic insomnia, constant headaches, even a feeling of pressure in their ears. And the mental toll is huge, causing anxiety and making it almost impossible to concentrate on anything.
And this right here really gets to the heart of it. For 98% of us, a quiet night is just quiet. But for someone who hears the hum, that same silence is filled with this constant, relentless noise that nobody else even acknowledges. You can just imagine how incredibly isolating and maddening that would be.
The problem got so bad in one particular town that it actually triggered one of the only formal government-backed investigations into the whole thing. And yeah, I'm talking about the famous Taos hum.
So back in the early 90s, complaints in Taos, New Mexico, they just hit a boiling point. The US government actually sent in scientists and engineers. They set up all this sensitive equipment, they interviewed dozens of people, and they looked everywhere for an industrial source, a military source, anything. And the result? Absolutely nothing. They confirmed that, yeah, people were definitely hearing something, but they couldn't find a single source to explain it. The mystery only got deeper.
Okay, so if it's not some big, obvious machine, then what in the world could it be? Well, over the years, science has kind of lined up the usual suspects to try and crack this thing.
The problem is, every single theory seems to have a major hole in it. You know, industrial noise? Sure, that makes sense in a city, but it doesn't explain reports from people living in the middle of nowhere. What about very low-frequency radio waves messing with our bodies? It's a cool idea, but totally unproven. Could it be something underground, like geological activity? Probably not. That wouldn't make such a steady mechanical sound. And finally, you might think, well, maybe it's just tinnitus. But if that's the case, why is it tied to specific places? Why does the sound often go away when someone moves out of a hotspot? See? Nothing quite fits.
Which brings us to the real challenge here. If this sound is real and it's affecting all these people, why can't we just record the darn thing and prove it exists once and for all?
Well, the answer really just comes down to physics. The hum seems to exist in a really low frequency range, sometimes called infrasound. It's often described as a sound that you feel just as much as you hear it. Our everyday microphones, even the good ones, they're just not built to pick up those kinds of frequencies. That makes getting objective proof incredibly difficult. So after all is said and done, after all the investigations, all the theories, all the personal stories, we're left right back where we started, with the same question. What is the hum? Is it some byproduct of our modern world, a weird natural phenomenon we just don't get yet? Or is it something else entirely?
And maybe, just maybe, this is the best way to look at it. Maybe the real mystery isn't something out there in the world. Maybe it's in here, inside us. A unique sensitivity, some kind of biological quirk that lets a tiny fraction of the population tune into a reality that's completely hidden from the rest of us. What do you think?